panelists, and it is going to be exciting. And since it is a bigger in size as compared to the previous session, so Chairman sir, you have 45 minutes.
And, good afternoon to all of you, all dignitaries sitting with me here on the dais as panelists, and all the dignitaries sitting across the dais from various industries. And it's really a pleasure happening as an event. And when we'll be talking about different things, probably this is one of the most important things which I feel industry is keen to talk about. But unfortunately from the system, a specific feedback was that the industry is not very open. Unfortunately, we tried our level best. We have been trying, but somehow still my personal feeling, not sitting as regulator, even when I was sitting as regulator at that time, and also after this particular instance when I came to a bridge between industry and academia, my feeling gets stronger that the things are not really very conducive to the system, at least for the industry. And we need to talk about those issues, probably not to criticize anybody, but to see if this can be reviewed and this system can be improved to a level where industry can be considered as a partner to the whole system, the policy making, the regulation making. And most importantly, what the inaugural session indicated, that we need to be the global leaders as a hub of manufacturing. We have already shown this on the human side, so there should not be any hiccups on the animal side also. So when we'll be talking about the animal health companies and the regulatory system over there. In fact, when we have been talking about the One Health and the Animal Pandemic Preparedness Initiative in the department, apart from rest of the things which we have been talking about, one important parameter was basically streamlining the regulatory system. We already have the act, we have the rules, we have the mechanisms in place, but then still it was very much felt that the things have to be streamlined in a way that has to be really conducive to the system, transparent, open, where we can actually discuss rather than decide on something in isolation and just convey the message. You have to come up with the merits, we have to come up with the issues, and then probably discussing, coming up with some middle path and show that this regulatory system is there to help the industry, not to control the industry. It is regulation. It's to regulate, not to control. So basically, we need to differentiate between these things. And to initiate this, first of all, I think when I'll start, I'll take really long. On a serious note, sir, हम इस पैनल में सिर्फ दो चीज़ें चाहेंगे. Although मुझे डॉक्टर अत्रे सर ने बहुत अच्छा सा एक फ्लो बना के दे दिया कि इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस हम बात कर सकते हैं, बट मुझे लगता है कि probably I'll go a little more informal in that. Would like to understand from the government regulators, from the policy makers, what they are planning to do in streamlining the whole system. And from the industry perspective, it's not only the panelists, I would like to invite all of you to contribute and participate in this. आप लोगों को क्या चाहिए? What can be the role for the industry as such in developing this kind of a model, this kind of a system, where this will be more effective, and not only for the Indian context, but also for the Indian industry to establish as a global leader in this. 4-5 महीने पहले I was invited to FAO to discuss about we would like to develop a framework for vaccine procurement by FAO for all the developing and underdeveloped kind of countries. and they wanted to create a vaccine bank kind of for 14, 15 different diseases. The framework, when we started talking, it seems like when we started talking about like a pre-qualification kind of model, it seems most of my companies in India, they were not even qualifying for that particular thing. That's really unfortunate. So we started talking about how to make it kind of a middle path so that you also qualify and tends to improve upon your system as such. At the same time, we should basically start working on how we can actually meet the global standards which are required. So harmonization is one part which IPC is already working upon. Probably Dr. Kalaivan is going to speak on that. So with these initial remarks, I would like to initiate this, and before that I would like to request Dr. Athare to give his opening remarks and start the flow of discussion in this session.
Thank you, Dr. Malik. In fact, you have made my job easy. In fact, you have mentioned everything. You have worked in the system and now trying to become a bridge between the industry and academic institutions. I have been interacting with these departments for more than 2 decades, and a lot of transformation has happened, and we have seen the difficult times also at a time when we had the first bird flu outbreak in the country and we had no platform to represent the industry. I remember Dr. Day and I, and we made a fake, in fact, the association. There was not an association. And we just worked with the government, and it took a lot of time for us to explain to the regulators also that basically we work in a science industry. So it's commercial comes later, first it is science. And this is what we believe in, that if scientifically what we are saying is correct, must be accepted. So I think that the inception of INFAH in 2012, thereafter we have been trying to be as open as possible, and your comment regarding Dr. Kalaivan's feedback, and we would be very happy to listen to her that what more we are expected to do, because I think whatever we can do in animal health industry, we can only do together. Some of the points we have already discussed. The one point is the faster new product approvals. Now this is one such area where we have been facing a lot of problems. If you look at the human formulations, normally the timeline is defined, it is 6 months. It might take 1 year. But when it comes to the animal health, it takes almost 2 years. Their government is trying to do it through the digital mode also. Now we have 2 different apps also. How the interface would happen, how fast this can be cleared, how the timeline can be defined. Because if you have to encourage research in the animal health industry, you also need to encourage the industry in terms of faster clearance. Otherwise, for the next molecule, it becomes extremely difficult for us because we do not know the fate of such molecules. Another thing is that it has to be made economical for all practical purposes. Though we are covered under the drugs and cosmetic acts, and in terms of quality, the rules are almost the same. They are the same, and there is absolutely no problem in that. But when you look at the size of the industry, we are less than a $1 billion industry. And when it comes to the new product approval, registration, the cost is almost the same. Now, if you look at the cost, how the companies would be encouraged to go for the new product registration? It's a huge cost. Sometimes you may not be able to recover it also if you want to take a chance. Third thing, you have already discussed about it, harmonization. And I believe that having now many of my colleagues, and I have an exposure to multiple countries, that I think we have a very strong case to make India as an export base for the animal health products. What we have been able to do in the human industry, we can do it in the animal health industry as well. And INFAH took an initiative in 2015. We had the regulatory conference here where almost 35 countries participated. And I think those type of interface and interaction is very important, that we actually move in towards the harmonization. Today our products are approved, IPC is approved in only the 4-5 countries, which is not enough. And I think this is one such area where we have to definitely have a roadmap, that how can we move towards that, because we want to produce the best quality product available anywhere in the world. And many of the member companies and in fact majority of them, they are following those practices. But therefore, I think the homogenization is one such area where I think we need to work. So these are the area. One is the faster approval. Second is economical. Look at the size of the industry, and your support is needed. Otherwise, we will be discouraging the new players, and there is not much consolidation is happening. The size of the biggest company could be around 1,000 crore. Which, when you look at the pharma industry, it could be maybe, I don't know what would be the rank with the same size of the company. So these are my initial expectations on behalf of the industry. As we go along, we will discuss more about it. Thank you.
Understand their thoughts and their initiatives in promoting the animal health industry, and how these are basically supporting the government initiative on ease of doing business. Also on how it can help industry in establishing them as global leaders, as manufacturing hub in India. So would like to start from my colleague from CDSCO, Dr. Gauri Shankar, the Deputy Drug Controller over there. So would like to understand how these things are happening in
Division in 2018. But as of now, there is no majority of the bifurcation between the human drugs and the veterinary drugs. What sir said that the application charges and the registration fee, it is same for the human and these veterinary drugs and the vaccines. But though the size of the industry is small here in the veterinary. So this is one of the things, when I go back to the office, put it there to my higher authority. And the second thing, that the quality safety, it is also same, and I think it should be the same. There should be no difference, because the vaccine and the drugs, whichever it is going to the animal or the human beings, that it should be effective and the quality product. And as far as the ease of doing business, so the things that we have shifted from the physical files to the digital one, and also the Nandi portal from the DHD, and we have to synchronize with the Sugam. So this will increase the accountability and the transparency, and also that it will keep the things on the fast track. Rest of the things, when we will go along, then I will discuss.
Think that you are going to be harmonizing the DSD's Nandi portal with the Sugam portal of CDSU, and probably if this can go seamless across the things, we started talking about those kind of seamless transactions across DHD, because sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes missing applications between CDSU and DHD. So hoping that this kind of seamless transaction will help basically finding those applications and deciding upon those very quickly. So in continuation, I would like to take up this regulator, the second regulator on the animal husbandry side, from Dr. Aruna Sharma, if she can talk about the similar initiatives which can be helpful to the overall animal health industry in India. Over to you, Dr.
Here, I just want to mention that the department has taken a lot of initiatives, not only in terms of disease control, but to strengthen overall animal health support system, which also includes the regulatory approval process. In the department, there is one committee, empowered committee on animal health, which act as a think tank of the department for the policy input in animal health sector, under the chairmanship of principal scientific advisor and secretary DHD. And under that committee, there is one dedicated committee for regulatory approval, and in that committee committee meets every month. So we discuss those cases, the cases received in the department every month, and in that committee there is also provision that industry applicant can also take part if needed. If committee felt that there is some clarification is required, then there is provision is there. And second committee is for clinical trial, developing a clinical trial document, that is a guidance document for conducting clinical trial, just for harmonization and for guiding the firm about the industry. And these documents consist of the prerequisite required for the clinical trial, then study protocol, and also about the different approvals required for conducting clinical trial. And for in this committee also participation of industry has actively participated. From last few years, industry has participated very actively in different committee. Clinical trial committee is one of that committee. And department is going to finalize this document very soon. It is in final stage of approval. And other thing, department has with the motto to make the India as a vaccine manufacturing hub. A department has also allowed import of exotic strain following all the regulatory procedures. One of the other policy change which policy decision which department has taken is to allow LPI vaccination, and to fasten up the regulatory approval process, as sir has already told, and since morning we have discussed about it. Nandi portal has launched last month, and this will definitely help to fasten up the process in timely manner and very transparent way. However, stranding means there are some gaps that we will by the time we will try to improve after getting the feedback from the industry. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Apart from this ECH mechanism which they have applied in the Department of Animal Husbandry, the important thing is involvement of the applicants also in the whole process. They have started giving chance to the industry to talk about their product, to defend their case, and replying to the queries of the experts right there before any decision can be taken, because this was probably the biggest hiccup previously. We could see that applications are given, a query is raised, it was given to the industry, response is coming in 2 months, and then we are again examining it, raising another query. So this nowadays is taking up just in one meeting, and generally every month when the things are there, pendency probably what I could feel is close to zero. Generally it is there.
No sir, it's not close to zero.
I tell you sir, it's close to zero. Reason is either the queries are raised specifically to present and come up from the industry. Sometimes I tell you the biggest issue. The responses from the industry are so vague and kind of beating about the bush that it's very difficult for the experts even to decide upon. Sometimes you talk about, say, a vaccine. We need definitive information on the strain, and sometimes it just says some clone number from the laboratory. It has got nothing to do with the company. If we as a regulator would like to decide upon, we do not have any information on what that clone means. So we would like to understand about that particular clone in context of what is circulating in India, what is already accepted and approved. So that kind of information generally, and that's where I am not saying zero. Otherwise it could have been zero, and it is possible with the support of the industry straight away. Second big initiative from CDSCO is their constitution of new expert committees from the veterinary side. And lot many people have been included, which are kind of a new mechanism in that, new faces in those committees. So probably with the understanding that the decisions have to be very, very quick in those. And over and above this, probably before I take Dr. Kalaivani's view, I would like to take the views from Dr. Pranav Dhar. If you can take up for the online participant for this panelist. From there, would like to understand how and what kind of activities and what kind of differences they would like to take up in harmonizing it, basically making it easy for the system.
He's not currently on his point.
नहीं अभी.
Yes, sir. And first of all, I thank INFAH for inviting IPC for this forum so that whatever the challenges we face while restructuring the monograph that can be discussed. So before going into the veterinary part, I just brief about Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, as you all know, is a standard setting organization under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And we publish as IP every 4 years, Indian Pharmacopoeia. And Indian Pharmacopoeia is recognized in 5 countries as of now. And we have observer status with EDPM, and we have MOUs with USP and BP. And IPC is the member of World Pharmacopoeias. So every year we used to attend those pharmacopoeia meetings. So why I am briefing it here is, whatever the amendment or revisions we are making in Indian Pharmacopoeia, that we will have in mind that we should harmonize the standards which are there in Indian Pharmacopoeia. With respect to the veterinary part is concerned, of course, there were a lot of work earlier they were doing with veterinary, but after our directors, Dr. Rajiv's joining, the veterinary, a separate group was created to work on veterinary products, biologicals and small molecules. After that, we have restructured, reconstituted the expert working group, and most of you are the part of that expert working group. And the first thing what we have taken up after reconstituting the expert working group is restructuring and harmonization of veterinary monographs. So for that, we have taken, like of course in our expert working group, we have Dr. Malik, Dr. Adre and others are there with their guidance. We have come out with the general monograph. What are all the parameters to be considered for drafting a monograph or for restructuring the monograph in line with global standards? So that we have drafted. So with the base of that general monograph, now we started restructuring and harmonizing the monograph. So while going for restructuring, as of course the challenge what we faced is, after it was drafted at IPC, when it was circulated to the industry, we used to get very few inputs on those restructured monographs. So that was the major challenge for us. And then what we did, like instead of sending one by one, the poultry vaccines we have segregated and we had given to one poultry manufacturer, for which I took the help of Dr. Sanjay, so that he coordinated with all the poultry manufacturers and he took the inputs. So now, and then it will go to the expert working group. Now there will the issue of after finalizing the monograph, we will not get any further input, so that it will not delay the process of finalizing the monograph. This is what we did. And the process of monograph development or amendment in the monograph is, we used to receive inputs from the stakeholders, manufacturers, and that was discussed with the expert working group. After discussion with the expert working group, the final one, with the approval of scientific body of IPC, it will be uploaded on IPC website for 45 days for public comment. So what we have done is, before going for public comment, we made sure that me and like our team at IPC, they made sure that they communicate with all the possible stakeholders and then they'll get the inputs, and then it go to the expert working group. So the final one is uploaded on the IPC website, so that the lesser comments will receive. Because if receive major comments, then once again it will delay the process. And while I was there were a lot of proposals with respect to the TABST related issues for buy-off and other things. But while, of course, this, I remember we were working on this TABST from 2012. But now we have taken it very seriously, and we wrote to repeated emails we have written to the all the stakeholders, because IP is not only for the importers, not only for the domestic. It is for both domestic and importers. When we talk about domestic manufacturers, we have state manufacturers also, state government manufacturers also. So connecting with them was the challenge for us, for which we took help of INFAH and other associations. So somehow we have come out with some in-between conclusions. So that is also uploaded on IPC website, which is the major one which we have done. So I think that's all about now, and maybe.
Hot issue है industry million probably would like to request industry to participate vehemently in this so that you get a favorable response from IBC. डॉक्टर अजीत यादव को ज्वाइन करना था क्या हुआ?
फोन किया है।
अच्छा अगर वो आते हैं तो ऑनलाइन
नहीं, वो फिजिकल-
What do you Dr. Dhar sir?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, sir. Thanks to the entire INFAH team, managing team, for inviting me in this prestigious meeting. So yes, sir. We are actually testing laboratory. We test all the vaccines, maybe before manufacturing license, before test license, and any new vaccines coming, getting imported. First 3 batches we are testing or certifying those batches, and also all the imported vaccines is coming from the ports, from the ADCs. That we are certifying. Sometimes we have already started testing at some of the batches. That we are doing. And for capacity building, we have got some big help from the GISD, and we will be coming up with the new facilities, and we have already started some new extension of the division so that we can expand, we can do that more testing, and also the protocol analysis. We are trying to dispose every case very quickly. We have made 20 days time, but sometimes it gets delayed. I would like to say here around 54 companies are participating here. There are delay. Dr. Atleti was telling about that delay in licensing and all other things. Delay. So delay also takes part from the companies, because some companies are importing a vaccine from a country of origin which does not match with the IP Indian pharmacopoeia. Then we have to see for other pharmacopoeia, or even if there are sometimes many companies they say they are mentioned about in-house tests. That we need to verify many times. That takes time, because we ask some query, the company also ask their principal from abroad, so it takes time. So this sometimes I agree, I know I sometimes 3 months, 4 months delays there, but we are trying to reduce that gap also. And very quickly we are trying to communicate with the company to keep this through a document. So that's what we are doing. It's going very fine, sir. And some vaccines we did not pass in the recent times because they did not match either pharmacopoeia or there are some issues. For example, mastitis vaccine, some company came with mastitis vaccine, two bacteria. We found that it is not going to work in the country, like that. So, yes sir, we are doing our best. We have good manpower, we have well trained manpower. Facility wise also we are well equipped with our facilities. And good support from the GSD. And this is only my submission, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pradhar sir. One very blunt question to you from industry side. I know industry will not come up with this. Would like to understand your take in dealing with the conflict of interest, because you are sitting in a R&D institution and there are issues which industry is talking to me during the breaks, in personal meetings and others, about some kind of conflict of interest with the testing laboratories and standardization division. How you would like to gear up for that? Any specific response?
Conflict of interest, I don't know. What? There's no conflict of interest. Why is there such a conflict of interest? We are not biased. We just honestly with the testing, and I don't think there is a conflict of interest with the industry, any partner of the industry.
Thank you, Malik sir, and I thank the organizers for inviting us here. So I'll give a little bit of brief about NIAB. So this is a very new institute under the Department of Biotechnology in Science and Technology Ministry. We are just about 10 years old. We moved into our new campus 6+ years. So, but we have a very good facility that is state of the art to do animal biotechnology. And our focus is only animal biotechnology. We do not do human science. This is a mandate for us. So we have to focus anything related to animals, and that too production animals. So it's mostly livestock and poultry. We try not to work on dogs and cats, which is a different aspect, unless there are zoonotic ramifications. So the major areas that we work on are one of the major ones is infectious diseases, of course. And in that also we have subgroups working on bacteria, viruses, parasites, and protozoa. So, and not all the areas, just very focused areas. We have people working on brucellosis, tuberculosis, leptospirosis, toxoplasmosis, a couple of viruses including poultry viruses and pig viruses. We work on mastitis in terms of infectious diseases. And a range of focused areas in terms of research. We do starting from epidemiology, genotyping, what sort of organisms do we have in this country, how can we actually derive knowledge from that to, including or vaccines or vaccine serotypes and things like that, to understanding host pathogen interactions, to basically look at drug development, to vaccine development as well as diagnostics. So diagnostics is a strength of our institute. That's the first thing that we usually do, because in any disease process you want diagnosis first, and then you can fall back on vaccines and things like that. Also from the industry perspective, that takes much longer than developing a diagnostics. So we have developed 6 to 8 technologies that have been transferred to one or the other industry. So that is the infectious disease part. We have a good group that works on reproductive biology, right from understanding basic reproductive biology in large animals to drug development. One example I can give you, so animals have a reproductive lifespan of 8 to 10 years. So there's a scientist who's trying to work on preserving oocyte pool, so that you can extend that by maybe 1 or 2 years. He's also working on increasing the number of kids in loads by certain interventions. He's also trying to understand certain ways of infertility, whether any natural product can be used to treat that infertility. So starting from basic work to liaising with drug development. There are other people who are working purely on diagnostics. We work on development of ELISA, we work on development of lateral flow assays, and also we have a couple of people who work on biosensor-based assays. So one person works on field-based APTA sensors, another person works on electrochemical sensors. We have one person working on nanotechnology and delivery, and a couple of people working on nutritional aspects, trying to understand what happens in the rumen, how can we increase the efficiency of absorption, digestion, etc. So this is basically the common group, and of course we have a common thread in bioinformatics which feeds all these areas, and we have a small group that works on genomics and transgenesis. And one of the areas that we are trying to do is to actually produce human therapeutics in milk. So basically using animals as a bioreactor, as my director was saying in the morning. So that is something we are doing. This is in general what we do. And as to what Malik sir was talking about, we built a COVID-19 vaccine testing facility at the behest of Prime Minister's office. This was started about 2 years ago, and in 6 months we built a facility that could test inactivated COVID vaccines. So this facility was built as per guidelines of WHO. So it has all man material movement, sterility testing, chemical testing, everything was included. All DMS, recording, SOPs, documentation, everything is in place. But by the time we were supposed to be recognized by the country for testing, COVID is gone. So now the testing facility is there, and which is what we were, even when Dr. Malik was the Animal Husbandry Commissioner, we were working with him to try and see how best can we utilize this facility, maybe for animal vaccine testing. And we still continue to work with government to see how best we can utilize this facility, because the facility is there, and hopefully we can work together and use this for the animal health. So with that, I think I'll close my this thing about the institute. Thank you.
Much, and we hope to have increased support to animal husbandry department as such, and also the industry in not only regulation but also the innovation part, where R&D can be supported through your NIAB efforts. Last but probably the most important, again, field regulation पे जाना बोलना जरूरी। So I would like to have from the overall representation of the industry, would like to understand from me what kind of issues they are facing, what kind of changes they would like to see from different regulators, their perspective, how industry would like to be opening up, because this morning you have given this antimicrobial resistance monograph, and I really congratulate INFAH in taking up this matter so seriously. We started asking you about the consumption, but probably I was discussing in the morning about like how this can be elaborated further in what is the impact of this particular data, which antibiotics and others. So this kind of participation probably is required. So would like to understand from you, from both the angles, what you need and how you can participate in the regulation process.
Comes to me with a big responsibility. So before saying anything, what we need to do further, I'll try to say a few things that we have done already. I have seen the regulatory of DADF. I'm not saying about AHCs. I'm saying from Datta to Gagan to Aruna. So, and say I have seen a drug approval NOC getting released in 6 months, and today getting released in 1 month. SIP getting released in 3 months to SIP getting released in 15 days. So that is what the change we do. Talking about IPC, again I have been associated with IPC ever since many people have been there, and till today when 11 is there. When we started interacting with IPC for the first time, they used to say a chemical monograph. So I used to say very effectively to all of them, this is not chemical, this is not a disinfectant, this is not a floor cleaner. We are talking about ampicillin, cloxacillin injection. And today my colleagues talk about drug monograph. So that is the adaptations that we have had within ourselves. And today we have a good standard monograph for veterinary, which I have never seen 10 years back, coming from our IPC with the help of Dr. Kalyani, the entire team, which is today oriented good into veterinary, and plus her team works into biological also. And I also thank DCGI for taking all those efforts to create a veterinary cell, to bring it to what level we have today. Coming to what we need or what we feel is important is, ever since I came to this industry, I saw a rule and a regulation for human beings, human drugs, applied onto it, saying that drug approvals will come in 1 year, while we were looking at 2.5 years. Going forward, is it possible that we have some guidelines, some timelines which says vet approval will come in 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is, since and humans, whatever it is. I leave it all to the regulator. But there should be one timeline which I get as an industry. My international partner asked me, how much is your timeline? I say, 1.5 to 3 years. Gives me a big rank of 500 days more. So I'm not able to say that to my colleagues, my friends, very clearly, which is probably one thing that we can do. Then I just to quote you a very simple example. We had Nandini, we had Subham. Now we are looking at integrating. Now, both have come into play. Why not this integration could have happened 6 months ago? So that Nandini had the wet area of Sobham already in. Nandi had the Sobham area already in. So that is look at. Today many a times we know that we are there for a advisory committee meeting for our product. But many a times we feel that we should be communicated also कि हो गया. After half an hour we feel कि हो जाएगा. Rather than that, if we have communicated कि we don't need you online, we have communicated that. Could be a better, another area where we can make things better. And so if all such endeavors are done, I think, and we are working together, we are gathering on many platforms and things are better. But such endeavors can make us still better friends and better. We will also try to be better regulated ourselves to lead up to the government requirements. And we are doing that. But we'll be also be opening up. Many times we hear that industry is not open. Industry may not be open in terms of business terms, but in terms of technical or regulatory terms, they are clear and they are open if you are open. Praveen sir has seen that in his industry during his time.
So I would like to have the final closing remarks from my co-chair, Dr. Arnath.
So thank you very much all the panelists, and I fully concur with my colleague Nitin in terms of the support which we have been getting from the different departments, but there is a need for accelerating the regulatory approvals. One area though which have been handled by the feed supplement subcommittee, we have a certain states getting into the separate act for the AP Feeds Act. Now if every state starts getting into this, because you have already set the precedent, you can do nothing about it. Then tomorrow in every state we would have the same issue. So I think some clear guidelines are needed from the center, from the ministry, that how are we going to handle the feed supplement. Some more clarification is needed. Another area is the pharmacovigilance in terms of the veterinary drugs. Some clear guidelines I think needs to be framed on this area. So thank you very much. I think most of the points were covered.
Which industry is seeking clarification for. Nandi, definitely, Daksa, when we started talking about Nandi, we started talking about its integration, and in fact we started talking to the CDSU straight away. Can you give us a small window in that so that we can have just single thing? But because of certain logistics issue in handling the overall portal on the back end, we created this as a separate portal on the same platform by the same agency CDAC, so this can be integrated quite easily because this has been developed on the same portal by the same team. So integration is not going to be very difficult. It's going to be there because this has already been planned. Its inception in EPD. Second thing about the timelines for the clearances. Yes, when we started talking about developing this kind of portal, we started talking about these kind of things, what are the processes, and in fact we started writing what timeline should be given to each of these steps, and these are going to be there in place very soon as this Nandi is fully functional. So this timeline will definitely be there, and this is already there on the cards of DHT. Rest of the things probably like TABST and harmonization of 5P for that matter, and the transparency mechanism within the clearance system by DHT and CDSU. These are already there, and we would like to seek your further opinions and suggestions so that these can further be improved in case you feel any specific issues which can be generalized and can be given to the ministries for implementation. One question which remains with CDSU is reviewing the fee structure, and would like to take up this with the CDSU probably you can write specifically, because this is a very long pending issue. I have been hearing this issue for last 10 years at least, and every time it has been told that it's going to be considered, but it has never been considered as a separate mechanism in the CDSO. So if you can take up this matter, that will be really useful. Finally, this is on the part of the regulators, but when it comes to the industry, would like to have more active participation of the industry. We have seen the issues during the NADCP implementation on the FMD quality issues with the vaccine. So would like to have that kind of self-control within the industry, so that we get the right kind of products which are required by the farmers. I tell you, your clients are not very rich, except for the companion animals. So you have to consider that particular fact. You have got probably the biggest market in the world at one place, and the regulators are with you. Would like to appeal all the representatives from different companies present here to support the cause of the government in tackling the animal diseases. And the way Carol has specifically mentioned about the climate change, the issues. In fact, last 3 months I have gone through lot many papers, and things are very, very, very extremely serious right now on climate change issues. And once the climate change issues are there, it's not only about zoonosis, it's going to be socio-political, economic issues overall. And the onus lies on the companies dealing with the animal health, because this is going to be probably the most important parameter in overall animal productivity issues. We are already 1.1 degree high compared to like last 40-50 years, not more. And we are going to touch 1.5 in next 10 years, probably we close to 2 in next 15-20 years. The level of mean sea level, you are talking about Arctic ice, which is going to like, it was estimated to be like coming to zero level by 2080 by IPCC's panel in 2014 report. In 2023 report, they say it's going to touch before 2050. And another report which came after that in May, it says it's going to touch within the decade of 2030 and 40. So one ecosystem is gone, and you can imagine the overall changes, and your responsibility as the big association, big federation of animal health companies, how you have to tackle this, how to take up this particular case, not only through your production mechanisms, but also your R&D mechanisms, and with the support of the overall regulation system, regulatory system present within the country. So thank you very much for listening to us, and 7 minutes के लिए सर माफी दे दें, धन्यवाद.
Just wanted to add that we also have an incubation facility. This was discussed in the morning. Dr. Day is actually incubating with us. He is our latest entrant. We have 2 people there. We may be a little choosy because space is not, we don't have too much space. We are trying to develop it for, if anybody is interested, we do have an incubation space.
We appreciate each panelist's contribution, and we would like to honor it with a gesture of a memento. So I would like to request Dr. Mrinal Sharma to please present the memento to Dr. Nitin Bhatia. Signed online, so the memento is in the safe hands. Sir, this is the tender. I will request Dr. Angan Roy from Indian Herbs. requesting Dr. M. Kalavani
Kalaivan.